Hello all. In this video I'm going to be showing you a little bit about the resources for the human genome that are found on the NCBI website. So NCBI stands for the National Center for Biotechnology Information, and they actually have a database that includes the entire human genome. So when you find that, you can either type in this web address here, or you can just Google human genome NCBI and it'll come up pretty quickly. But on this website, you actually have a lot of different tools that you can use. I'm only going to go over a couple of them because some of them get really technical and you need a biochemical background or something like that to kind of get into a lot of it. But there are a couple features that I wanted to show you here. I like to use this when I'm teaching about DNA and the genome and karyotypes and all of that, because I feel like it's a little bit more of a kind of, this is real. This is actually what your genome is like. So it helps connect it a little bit to the students a little bit better. So one of the first things I want to show you is here. It's the Genome Data Viewer. So if you click on that, it actually shows you a bunch of different genomes that are available. Obviously you have the humans here, and then you can actually expand some of these to see a couple different animals, plants, flies. There are a lot of different fruit flies here. So these are different genomes that are actually available. Alright, so we've got the dog selected here. If you actually come over here and click on Browse Genome, it will take you to basically the similar type of thing that we're going to look at in just a second for the human genome. So dogs are actually used a lot in genetic research, especially cancer research. They tend to have similar cancers to humans, which is actually a pretty big deal for research purposes. So oftentimes when researchers have a cancer drug that they want to test, and they have to have kind of an idea of how it's going to work in a body before they actually get to this point, but they will actually test these cancer drugs in dogs in order to try to cure the dog of cancer. And then if that is successful, they will kind of go on to work in humans and go to human trials. But so that's why, having the dog genome is a really big deal. And my dog just jumped up on the bed behind me, and I don't think he's very happy about me talking about that. But anyway. Alright, so going back to the human genome here, you can see that this is actually a karyotype, so it shows each of the chromosomes in the human genome, and they're organized by size, okay, except for X and Y. Those are a little bit different, but for the most part, they're organized by size. So I'm just going to click on one here. Sometimes takes a little bit, mostly because this is a huge database that it's searching through. But once you click on it and it loads up, here we go. Alright, so first thing to point out here, you have the entire genome listed, or the entire chromosome, not genome, the entire chromosome displayed on the top here. What you'll notice is we're not looking currently at the entire chromosome. We're just looking at this one little tiny bit right here. Now you can pick this and kind of expand it a little bit. You can move it around, all kinds of things. You can zoom out even further just to see more at once. Okay. This is actually looking at the entire chromosome now, but if we zoom in a little bit further, get back here. So this right here, the blue line, is basically normal human DNA. And then anything that's listed underneath it is actually mutations or variants in these genes. A lot of this down here is actually using computer programs to try to predict where genes can be found, using kind of some tools and research that we've done over the past several decades, trying to figure out how to actually locate different genes. So this gets into a lot of technical stuff that I'm not going to go over in this video, but that is available there. Interesting part is really just looking at these different mutations here. Okay, and if you hover over them, they will actually tell you some information about them. Now, this is a program that I've talked about briefly in this class before, but this is where scientists from all over the world can come in and actually annotate these genes. So first, there are some that will actually use this information down here to determine if that is actually a gene, and then try to determine what protein it codes for. And then others will come in, and if they find a mutation, they will annotate that, mark that here, and also show, what kind of mutation it is, what the length is, what type of mutation, all of that. And then others will come in, and if they can, link that specific mutation to a certain disease, and then, talk about why that disease actually is caused by that mutation. Okay, so this is a really great resource when you're going into how the human genome is structured and all of that. Another interesting thing about this program here is if you know a gene's name or its location, you can actually search for that here. So this is called BRCA1. It is actually a relatively famous gene. It's been in the news quite a bit. So you can search for it here, and then it pops up here and tells me that it's on chromosome 17, and then the gene is located between these base pairs. So it's, a lot of base pairs in each chromosome. But you can click on that there, and it will take you specifically to the BRCA1 gene, which is labeled right here. Now, BRCA1 is actually associated with DNA repair. You can actually see that it says that right here. Okay, so that's the normal gene. Now, if you look at all of these underneath, these are genes that are actually mutated versions or variant versions of BRCA1. So you can see that they're listed as transcript variants. Okay. And then the protein here is actually linked with breast cancer, which is why this one has gotten a lot of media attention in the past several years. This is one of those genetic components that gives an increased susceptibility to breast cancer. Now, each of these here is actually a different variant. Okay, so there's variant 1, and then that one's variant 3. Obviously, they don't go in order, but so you can actually take a look at these different mutations. Okay, so this one's a little bit different, but another thing you can do with this is actually zoom in to look at the DNA sequence. So you're now close enough and fine enough detail that you can see the different DNA base pairs of this gene. And then down here, you can also see the different mutations that have been found in this gene. Okay, so this is basically saying that at this location here, a G was turned into a C. Okay, at this location, a G was turned into an A. That may not seem like a whole lot, and I'm not going to get into how big of a difference that can be, because it really depends on the circumstance itself, but that can cause some pretty major changes in a gene, in a protein, and in a condition in a person. So I just think this is really cool to see, and this is looking specifically at, a gene that causes breast cancer, that some of your students might know somebody who has a BRCA1 mutation. And so this really relates to their lives. So I love showing them around in this. There is a lot more that you can do with all of this down here. There are different basically filters that you can put on it, where you can look at specific types of genes, like oncogenes, ones that are connected to cancer, and then you can look at protein codes, and then protein models, all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot to use, or a lot that you can use with this database. I actually had a class in undergrad called bioinformatics that was pretty much just on this kind of technology. So there's quite a bit that you can do here, but that's all I'm going to show you in this video, so I hope you learned something from it.